Alright guys, we're back again for another DIY video. So yesterday I decided to test my sprinkler pump because my grass was looking a little dry. So I came over to my controller and I hit my enter button like I normally do to kick the system on. The system was powered up, everything had been working. I knew it was working last week, but I went to kick it on and nothing happened. Typically, whenever I click this button, I hear a clicking noise, usually inside the box and then immediately after inside this relay. So when I click this button and nothing happened, I knew there's three parts to this system: the controller, the relay itself, and then the pump. I just replaced the pump 2 years ago, so I was hoping that it wasn't the pump. I'm not an expert in electrical, but I do work on vehicles and cars, and I feel like I'm more or less a DIY engineer. I love things about engineering and how things work in electrical systems, mechanical systems, and it really interests me, so I do a lot of research on that topic. So what I decided to do was figure out whether it was the controller or this that was going on, because I figured the pump wasn't bad because I had just replaced it 2 years ago. So what I did was I went inside of this relay here, and I'll take a shot of that. And inside this relay, that button on the bottom of it is a test button. As soon as I pressed that button, when the system had power, because I knew it had power because the screen was on, so I knew this tree here had power, the pump kicked right on and did exactly what it was supposed to do. So I knew it wasn't the pump, it wasn't the power getting to it, so it was somewhere in the system between the controller or this relay. Now I talked to an electrical buddy of mine, and he seems to think it's the controller not kicking on this relay because the relay is powering the pump. The controller itself sends a signal, 24 volt signal, to this relay, and that sends 240 volt signal to the pump to kick it on. So that's how the system works. So I ended up going to Lowe's and getting a new controller and a new relay just in case, even though my buddy, I'm more than likely sure that he's correct with the controller being out. So let's go ahead and get to replacing this. So these are the two components I'm working with. So the reason why I bought both, because I wasn't exactly sure if it's the relay or it's the controller. Now, again, I'm not an expert on the entire situation. I'm not an irrigation guy, but I am really adamant on research. So what I did do was I took plenty of pictures of my old system inside of the controller box and made sure that it looked exactly the same. The reason why I did that is that way when I go to wire this one in, I don't have to be an expert to know what goes where. I just put exactly the same wires in the exact same spots on this 9-station controller box that I have out there. So typically whenever I'm replacing something, I try to use the same exact part. That way I'm ensured that all I have to do is just hook up the wires exactly where they are, and then I'm good to go. So you guys may ask yourself, well, how do you know whether or not you can work on it yourself? So the first thing that I have is a voltage tester. And if you do not know what you're doing with electrical, I wouldn't advise to messing with it. This is the first tool that I have. This is a voltage tester. What this is going to do is it's going to detect whether or not we have voltage coming in to this area. You hear that? That beeping noise? That means we have voltage. So we always want to make sure to turn off our power. Okay, we have no power going anywhere to the system now because we have that breaker off. And as an added measure, I'm going to go to the house and I'm going to turn off the breaker that comes to this particular breaker just in case, just to make sure that I have everything off. So as you can see, I have this on. There's still no power going to it because I have switched off the main on the house. So I have ensured myself double that I do not have any power going to this while I'm working on it. Alright guys, so I want to simply explain what I did and how I did it. And by the way, it's working again. So here's the old one, there's the new one. So all I did And this isn't rocket science. All I did was I took the 3 wires that were coming in here, here. So there's 2 wires on this side and 1 wire on this side. And you have your extra wire here that's for your outlet. But I took this wire and I slowly, by process of elimination, took 1 wire out and marked which pairs of those wires was connected to which zones, if it was for the sensor, the comm, and the pump, whatever it was. I kind of deduced it down to wire 1, wire 2, wire 3. And each wire has obviously its purpose connections. So as I took, I dismounted the box, this old box off of here, I remounted the box up. I took 1 wire and I essentially put that wire through this hole, and what I do is slowly, there was only about 4 or 5 connections per wire that was connected inside this box. So all I did was take 1 wire through here and connect it to each specific zone that it was connected to. I'd take another wire, feed it through, connect those ones to the specific zones they were connected to. And then obviously just keep track on my notes of what I was doing in what wires were connected where. So I reverse installed this procedure by just using this old one as a guide to install the new one. So the new one's all installed, the pump is running. My buddy was right, it was definitely the controller. Everything's installed here. Only thing I need to do is reinstall some foam and some silicone in here, because I'm pretty sure it was these giant wasp nests that were invading inside this box unit that probably took this thing out. They bring a whole lot of debris and other things in here, and if that stuff got in here and shorted out this system, that's probably why. So now at this point, I'm going to go in here with some silicone and maybe some foam, and I'm going to block these holes so no bugs can get back in there, because they were stuffed all inside this thing. All right, guys, thank you for joining me on repairing our controller and the diagnosis of how I found between this relay up here and the controller itself of that pump. Again, if you don't know what you're doing, just ask as many questions as you can. You can go through the diagnostic process that I did, but if you're not comfortable working on high voltage, I wouldn't. It can be dangerous, so I don't recommend it if you're not comfortable doing it, or you haven't done it before, or you're not under the guidance of somebody who is a professional. So I would suggest, if you're not comfortable doing it, maybe figure out the diagnosis between it, but don't necessarily mess with anything if you're not fully comfortable. It is dangerous and it can hurt you. But again, this is me doing it on my own, by myself, with a few tips of what to look for with a friend of mine who is a master electrician, and also me knowing how to test to make sure voltage is off. Because I'm comfortable doing it, I know how to test to make sure my voltage isn't running and all my breakers are off and it's safe to work on. That's why I was able to actually get it done. So thanks for joining me, guys. Stay tuned for our next videos, where we're going to do some compost teas and continue working on our garden. Our seed starts are starting to sprout out, and so we're about to get those transplanted into our garden boxes for all our fruits and vegetables. So stay tuned. Thanks, guys. See ya.